Now, after concluding his two-day visit to France, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has now arrived in the United Arab Emirates as part of his extensive diplomatic tour. The agenda of the day-long visit is expected to be energy, food security and defence. Prime Minister Modi will also hold talks with the United Arab Emirates President, Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. The visit will also be an opportunity to discuss cooperation on global issues, particularly in the context of the Emirati presidency of COP28 and India's G20 presidency. China's top diplomat has urged India to focus on common interests and meet China halfway to diffuse the border tensions between Asia's two most populous nations. The two countries in fact met on the sidelines of the ASEAN talks in Jakarta, and Wang Yi told the Indian Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar that China and India's common interests clearly outweigh their differences. The relations between India and China have deteriorated in recent months over their contested Himalayan border and also a visa spat in which the two sides have expelled nearly all of each other's journalists. The Indonesian Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi has said that Myanmar's peace plan is still a priority for ASEAN. The peace plan was agreed with Myanmar's military rulers in 2021. Calling the Myanmar issue to be complex, Marsudi said that ASEAN must work in accordance with the 5-point plan, and ASEAN is struggling to de-escalate a bloody crisis in its member state Myanmar. The ruling military of the country was roundly condemned by the forum. Myanmar has seen escalating violence since the military seized power in a coup back in 2021. The Liberal frontrunner to become Thailand's next Prime Minister, Peter Limjaroenrat, has said that he will withdraw his candidacy if the Parliament does not endorse him next week, and that would be the second round of voting after the military-appointed lawmakers had foiled Peter's first attempt. He also said in a video address that it is clear that the Move Forward party truly does not have a chance to form the government on its own, and that he is ready to give a chance to Thailand by letting the party that has the second most number of votes in the parliament. The American Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said that Russia shows no signs of changing direction in its war on Ukraine. Blinken made the statement during the ASEAN Regional Forum that was held in Jakarta. While speaking to the reporters, Blinken also condemned North Korea's missile launch. He called for stability in the Indo-Pacific, the Taiwan Strait and the South China Sea. Blinken said that there is no greater challenge to regional security than North Korea's provocative missile launches. And top diplomats from the United States, China and Russia were amongst those who also travelled to Jakarta for this forum. The police patrolled the streets of Paris ahead of France's Bastille Day celebrations. Security was heightened with an aim to avoid the reigniting of bloody riots that had shook France last month. Now, France's Interior Minister said that a total of 130,000 police officers were deployed in Paris, where President Emmanuel Macron was jeered at by the public. This happened during the Bastille Day military parade, as the president drove down the Champs-Élysées in a military car. The Bastille Day commemorates one of the key events in the French Revolution. The French President Emmanuel Macron hosted a dinner for the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The state banquet was held at the Louvre Museum. Before the dinner, the Indian Prime Minister, along with the French President, had met with the CEOs of Indian companies in France. Prime Minister Modi also attended the traditional Bastille Day military parade, and this came as a part of a visit that has sealed high-profile defence deals between the two nations. Modi began his France visit on Thursday when he was awarded with the Legion of Honour, which is France's highest civilian and military award. The United States, South Korea and Japan, together in a joint statement, have condemned North Korea's missile launch. The statement reads that North Korea's intercontinental ballistic missile violated multiple United Nations resolutions. The leaders have said that provocative launches like these threaten peace and stability in the region. The statement has further added that North Korea should cease its escalatory actions and should return to dialogue. The officials from the three countries, in fact, met at the sidelines of the ASEAN Regional Forum. A 23-year-old Indian student was brutally beaten up in Australia with iron rods by the Khalistani supporters. The incident, in fact, took place on Friday when this student tried to oppose the activities of radical elements. The attackers, chanting pro-Khalistani slogans, attacked the student while he was on his way to work. The student, who also works as a driver, was dragged out of his car before being thrashed with metal rods. India has asked the Australian government to curb anti-India activities of the Khalistani separatists. The Indian government has dubbed these kind of attacks as grave and unwarranted. A male suspect has been arrested in connection with the serial killings in New York. According to the police, the suspect targeted sex workers and others whose bodies were strewn along the Long Island beach. For now, the police have refused to identify the suspect. Back in 2010 and 2011, 11 sets of human remains had been found along the Gilgo beach. The remains were linked to 9 women and 1 man, and also a young toddler girl. The killings have drawn widespread outrage in the United States. At least 24 people have been killed and 10 left missing as heavy rains have flooded South Korea. The thousands have been told to evacuate their homes due to an overflowing dam. Over the last 3 days, heavy rainfall has submerged counties across the country. Local media reports are suggesting that the death toll may rise further. South Korean Prime Minister Han Duck-soo has urged the officials to respond to the river overflows and landslides preemptively, and has requested for support for rescue operations from the Defence Ministry. Three children drowned in the floodwaters in the Indian capital of Delhi. These are the first deaths to have been reported in the Delhi floods. The Indian Met Department has issued a yellow alert in the city. Now, Delhi is expected to witness some high to moderate intensity of rains in the coming days, which might aggravate the current situation of waterlogging further. This comes after the rise in the level of the Yamuna River is said to be the worst that has been recorded in 45 years. It is severely impacted and also continues to affect life in many places across northern India. Now, much of southern Europe is baking in the extreme heat, with Greece witnessing temperatures of over 40 degrees Celsius. Acropolis, the country's most popular tourist attraction, was closed during the hottest hours of the day to protect the visitors. The Greek authorities proactively shut the gates of its ancient monuments between midday and early evening amidst the heat wave. The Red Cross staff handed out bottled water to tourists, and paramedics also administered first aid to those exhibiting symptoms of dehydration. The European Space Agency has said that Italy, Spain, France, Germany and Poland will witness some extreme heat wave conditions. And South Korean President Yoon is on an unannounced visit to Ukraine for talks with President Volodymyr Zelensky. The surprise trip has come after Yoon attended a NATO summit in Lithuania and visited Poland this week, where he's expressed solidarity with Ukraine against Russia's invasion. Yoon visited the site of the mass killings in Bucha, near the capital city of Kiev, before visiting Irpin, which is a residential area that has received large-scale missile attacks in recent weeks. He's also expected to hold a summit with Zelensky later, and this comes when South Korea is preparing to send some demining equipment and ambulances to Ukraine. And Colombian children who lived for more than 5 weeks in the jungle have been released from the hospital. The 4 indigenous children survived a plane crash in the country's Amazon rainforest. The crash killed the 2 adults on board, including the mother of the children. The children were in hospital for 34 days and will continue to live under care. According to the authorities, this decision has been taken keeping in mind their complex family situation. The children were found by the rescue forces last month. The indigenous children's knowledge of the jungle has been credited by the officials for saving their lives. China's electric car maker BYD has submitted $1 billion proposal to build electric vehicles and batteries in partnership with a local Indian company. And this comes just days after Tesla was in talks with the Indian authorities for setting up an EV factory. Now, BYD and the Hyderabad-based Megha Engineering and Infrastructures are looking to form a joint EV, that is a joint venture. Now, BYD plans to build a full lineup of EVs in India, from hatchbacks to luxury models. However, both BYD and India's Commerce Ministry have not yet commented on this development. BYD's push into India is part of its rapid global expansion to challenge Tesla. In a significant development, India's payment system UPI is all set to be adopted and used in France. Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced the agreement during his address to the Indian community in Paris. The UPI is set to empower Indian tourists, starting from the iconic Eiffel Tower. This move also eliminates the need for forex cards and the inconvenience of carrying cash. This expansion of UPI to France adds to its growing international presence, following agreements with Singapore's PayNow and France's Lyra. Further discussions are underway to extend UPI services to the United States and other European nations, and also in West Asia. Advanced estimates show that Singapore's economy may have avoided a technical recession in the second quarter. In its annual review, the Monetary Authority of Singapore estimated the gross domestic product for 2023 to ease to a range of about 0.5 to 2.5%. And this is much lower than the growth of 3.6% that was witnessed in 2022. Singapore's manufacturing sector noticeably led declines in the overall growth, contracting from 7.5% from last year. But analysts remain upbeat that the return of Chinese tourists could give the city-state's economy a big boost that would help it avoid a recession throughout the year. A hairstylist in Perth, Stevie Vincent, has made her salon a sensory-friendly place to help her autistic clients. Many people with the condition find getting a haircut overwhelming. The Stevie Vincent understands sensory overload because she experiences it too due to having an ADHD and post-traumatic stress disorder. She switches from noisy clippers to scissors if that's what her customers need. She's also offered face shields to clients and lets clients sniff products or describes their texture before applying them on their hair.